recording.
Hi, I'm Ron from Above and Beyond Creative Sewing, and today Diane and I are going to be showing you sergers and the rolled hem. So the first thing I want to talk about is some upcoming classes. We have a tote bag class coming up on Saturday, March 7th from 10 to 12. Some people have asked this class on a Saturday, how to use your serger to do that. We have 2 rolled hem classes. Well, it's the same class, but you're going to make rolled hem napkins, and we have it on Thursday, January 30th from 2 to 4. And on Saturday, March 7th from 2 to 4. So you could take both of those serger classes in the same day if you want. Just call the store and sign up. And we're doing a really great class that Kathy's going to teach how to apply binding to your serger, to your quilt using a serger. So this binding on this quilt and this binding on this quilt is all applied using the serger. So what we're going to do is Diane's going to show you a little bit about how to do some rolled hems on the Baby Lock Triumph, and then I'm going to show you some rolled hems on the Bernina 800, and we'll do a couple of adjustments so you can see what those different adjustments do to your rolled hem.
Okay, hi. So I'm going to do a 3-thread rolled hem, and I am on the Baby Lock Triumph. Just so you know, any serger you purchase from Baby Lock comes with a great quick reference guide of how to thread. Okay, so because I'm in the green side of the chart here, I need to put my threads on the machine that's on the green section of the machine. Okay, so I am working with some what is it, Mettler thread. Okay, so if you notice on the machine here, there's a lower looper, upper looper, and I'm using 1 needle today, which is I'm going to use overlock 2, and I'll explain that in just a second. If you notice, they're green, so I'm just going to slide the threads onto the green parts, and when you thread the machine, you do need to make sure that you get in that back tension, so you want to hear that snap in. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and put my upper looper on. And if you notice on the top here, everything is labeled where all the threads go. So here we go, I'm gonna snap that one in. And of course, I'm gonna put my needle thread in. Okay, that's gonna go here. Flip it around, sorry about that. Do this, and I wanna make sure I'm in needle thread. Now, the way we thread the machine is we're gonna open up all the doors here, okay? And I'm gonna turn that little knob to threading here, and I just need to turn the hand wheel so that everything gets locked in, and I'm going to make sure my foot pedal is my foot is up. Okay, now here's where the needles are. Okay, so I only need needle number 2, which is I'm going to do a narrow edge rolled hem. So number 2, which is closest to the knife, is considered the narrow edge. If I move the needle into the 1 position, then it would be a wide rolled hem. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and work on the loopers here. So all I'm going to do is, this is self-threading, so I'm just dropping the thread into that little hole here, button, and there's the first threading. Now I'm going to the upper. I'm going to drop that into the little channel there, and there's my looper here. Okay, now this machine is self-threading, so I'm going to go in here, come around, bring it down. Okay, and just drop this. I am going to cut my thread just a little bit. Okay, now with this, all you have to do is put that thread right in front of the needle. Okay, and we're just going to press this. Oops, sorry. We're going to press this button here. Once you let go, notice it is a self-threading needle, and I'm just going to pop that right underneath the foot. Okay, now everything is good. I do want the needle, the knife. Going to be using the knife, so I'm just going to go back to serging and close all my doors. Before I start serging, I do want to set my width to the highest, the longest setting here, and then my length, I want to set that to make sure you're in the roll position, which is in the circle here. Okay, I'm going to start serging on 3, and I'm going to show you the differences between the 3 and the 1. Okay, so I'm going to take my little piece of fabric here. I'm just going to line this up. This machine, again, it will not let me stitch unless I put the foot down. Okay, so here I go. I'm going to start my thread. Now this is a very open stitch here. Okay, I have some samples to show you in just a second. It all depends on what kind of look that you're trying to achieve here. Okay, so if you notice, okay, very nice stitch. It's a little open. Okay, now if I switch my dial to 1, okay, making that a little tighter, now I'm going to go ahead and do this again. Okay, and now watch the difference here. You'll get a very more tighter rolled hem. Here. Again, it all depends on what kind of look you're trying to achieve here. Can you see that beautiful rolled hem? Okay? And how much difference it is between those two rolled hems. Now on this particular fabric, can you see the difference? On this particular fabric, okay, you can tell that this doesn't maybe not look as pretty on this color fabric, but in my samples, I happen to think it looks great on this fabric here. See how I had a little bit of an open, I didn't want my stitch length as close together. Same thing with this one, it's the same stitch length at 3, okay? Now here is I have this set of samples here. Notice it's a little closer because I didn't like how the 3, this is to a 1. And you can actually feel the difference. So, and that's it. Thank you for joining me.
So I have here a Bernina 800DL. Why don't you come around this side so everybody can see what we're doing. I got a couple things to show you. It's set up right now, I guess I should turn it on, right? It's set up right now for a 4-thread overlock, which is just a standard overlock stitch. And I'm using, not great thread, but it's a nice color so you can see it on the camera. What I'm gonna do is cut the threads here. And I'm going to set this up for a rolled hem. And there's a couple different kind of rolled hems. There's a 2-thread rolled hem and a 3-thread rolled hem. And when you do a 2-thread rolled hem, you use a converter. And what the converter does is it covers the upper looper. So you have a lower looper and an upper looper. And if you can see here, the thread from the lower looper goes over the upper looper. And then the upper looper thread is the top thread, the bottom thread, and then the one thread is going to be the needle thread on a rolled hem. If I put the converter on, it covers that upper looper, and I'm going to put that on in a little while, and that allows you to use 2 threads. So what I just did now is I cut the threads, so I'm just going to pull them through the tensions. Once they're released from the tensions, I can just pull them from the back of the machine. And I'm going to set up for a rolled hem, and basically what I'm going to do is remove the left needle. There's a couple more things, but I'm not going to do them yet because I want you to see the difference of what I'm doing here. So the first thing I'm going to do is thread the machine. So we do the upper looper. And this is nicely color coded, so I can do the blue, and there's a blue one there, and a blue one here. And then I'm going to thread it through the eye of the upper looper. And on these types of machines, I like to move the knife out of the way. It just kind of pivots up out of the way and makes it so I can get in there a little bit more easy. Grab that one. And then I'll do the lower looper. And the lower looper on this machine is red, so I'm going to follow the red thread guides. There's a red thread guide there. Now, I got to go to the lower looper here, and this one has a threader, and what it does is it pulls the thread to the back. A little trick I like to do is when I have this type of looper, I thread it through the eye first. So I got that through. Then I take the thread and pull it. Now, once I'm pulling it, I can easily go under that little thing and click it in and grab it from the middle here and click it in. It's so much easier when you can pull from the one end rather than trying to thread it in those earlier. And then I'll just push that little white thing back up. So there's my lower looper, and then I'm going to thread the needle thread. So the needle thread is going to click in, come across, and this is color coded, so I go with the green there, and through, and then I thread the needle. Now, you may notice that when I thread the needle, I'm using 2 fingers like this. When you use your hand, the mechanics of your wrist make you want to twist, but if you use 2 fingers, you can push straight in, and that's why I was able to get it in the hole so easily, even with my glass problems. And then I can take these and put them under the foot. So now I'm ready to go. I can lower the foot and close the door, and I can do my rolled hem. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start stitching. And then halfway through, I'm going to pull this little white latch back. And what that does is it drops the stitch finger. So there's a little finger here attached to that white thing, and when it pulls it back, it allows the thread to roll the fabric. So you see how you have your plain, and then you have the rolled section. Now, you see it's not tucked up on the back nicely yet, and my length is a little long. So those are some adjustments we can do. I can take my stitch length here, and I can move it to about 1.5. Now what's happening is the upper thread is getting pulled around and the lower thread is doing the pulling, but it's not doing a great job of pulling. So I can tighten the lower looper a little bit and loosen the upper looper a little bit so that it can come around. So that pencil mark is more or less where I made that change. So if you see here, the thread is showing, and then down here, it's rolled all the way around, but it's still not right. You see those little loops on the bottom there? That tells me that my thread's just a little too loose. Watch what happens if I just take take the upper looper and just tighten it a little bit. That's the only change from what I just did. And now if you look on the back side, see how nice and tight that is? That's a beautiful rolled hem. And I could play with the stitch length too. Most people think they need to have the tiniest stitch length when they do a rolled hem. Right now I'm on 1.5. If I take that and bring it all the way down to 1, it's going to get more coverage. I'll show you that in just a moment. So it has a little more coverage, but it also has little spots where it bulges out a little bit. And that'll happen when you get your length too short. What I would recommend you do instead is to buy a thread that's thicker so that you get better coverage but can use a longer length. You'll get a better result. And finally, if you wanted to make this a little bit thinner, you would put on that 2-thread converter. And what I would do in that instance is I would remove that upper looper thread. Threads there, so I can pull that through, and then I should rethread the whole machine now, because what happens is the thread gets caught on the upper looper. But if I cheat and just roll it off a little bit, I can put on that converter. It goes right over the top of the upper looper. It clips on a little pin in the back there, so I got that pin clipped in right there. And then I take this little wire and get it in the eye of the looper. And what happens now is when that goes, the thread can't slide down, so you can use the one thread to go all the way around to catch the needle. And that's how you would do a 2-thread rolled hem. So that's the differences in rolled hems and some of the adjustments. We have people here in the store. We're going to do some more work with them. We encourage you when we have these demonstrations to come down so you can ask questions and we can do more with you. And we're going to continue to work with the rolled hems and how to use them. Thanks for joining us on video, and we look forward to seeing you soon.